So how safe is Argentina right now? This is a question that lots of tourists ask before they consider coming here. Now, I stayed in Argentina for over 2 weeks. I visited 5 cities: Buenos Aires, Mendoza, Cordoba, Salta and Puerto Iguazu. And in my just over 2 week stay, nothing bad happened to me. I was never robbed, never mugged, nothing bad at all happened. However, I did need to take safety precaution. So in this video, I'm going to go through the exact safety precautions that you do need to take when you visit Argentina. The first really big point, in my opinion, about keeping safe in the country is doing your research in terms of which neighborhoods to stay, especially if you're staying in the bigger cities. You really do need to know where are the best neighborhoods, the safest neighborhoods to stay. Now, starting in Buenos Aires, because that is the most popular city in the country, I recommend 2 places. You could either stay in Palermo. Palermo is where I stayed. You've got 2 parts of Palermo: Palermo Soho, Palermo Hollywood. Both of them are fine, both of them are nice neighborhoods. So you can stay in Palermo, or you could stay a bit further out in somewhere called Belgrano. For me, those 2 places are the best places in Buenos Aires to stay. I walked around both of those neighborhoods, both in the day and night, and I didn't feel any real sense of danger. In Palermo, there are always lots of people about. It's very hip, very vibrant, there's good nightlife there. So for me, I definitely felt safe staying in Palermo. So that would be my number 1 recommendation for Buenos Aires. Now, moving on to Cordoba. If you want to go to Cordoba, that's the second city in Argentina. Now, I recommend you stay in an area called Nueva Cordoba. You can go onto Google Maps and type in Nueva Cordoba. It's kind of like an area south of the Centro area. There's also this area called Güemes, which is kind of in the Nueva Cordoba area. There's loads of bars there. It's very hip, very studenty, very cool, very artsy. So I do like that area. Now, if you're going to see the Iguazu Falls, and if you're going to be staying in Puerto Iguazu, I recommend you stay somewhere in the center of town, to somewhere near Avenida Brazil or Terminal de Omnibus. That's where you want to stay, around that central area of town. If you're going over to Mendoza for the wine, I recommend you stay near a street called Aristides Villanueva. It's kind of like the main bar area is this street here. It's very lively. It's always very touristy, full of people. And if you're going to be going up north to Salta, I recommend you stay somewhere in Centro and somewhere relatively close to Plaza Nueve de Julio. That's the main square in the city. To be honest, Salta to me felt like the safest city out of all the places I went to in Argentina. So somewhere in Centro, somewhere in the historic center should be fine. So for me, the key conclusion from this is that Argentina is not like Europe, because in Europe, generally speaking, you want to stay in the city centers wherever you go. The city centers are the safest places to stay. But in Argentina, sometimes it is different. Sometimes you may not actually want to stay in the city centres, because sometimes the city centres can get a little bit dangerous, especially at night time. So you do need to know the right neighbours to stay. But out of those 5 cities that I've been to, these would be my recommendations. Now, just before I do get into my other safety tips that you need to know before you go to Argentina, if you go to the description of this video and also the comment section too, you'll see a load of links. You can actually purchase your flights and your accommodation to Argentina using those links. You'll see that one of those links there is a link to Skyscanner, and Skyscanner are the world's leading flight comparison site. I always use Skyscanner when booking flights. So go to that link there to book your flights to Argentina. You can also go to the very top link that you'll see, which is actually a link to a side hustle. So if you do want to make a bit of extra money to fund your travels and your trips all around the world, do go to that link. It's a link to Oddsmonkey. It's a very easy side hustle. It's probably the best side hustle out there because it actually genuinely works. There's other links. There's links to travel insurance. There's also a link to a website where you can buy your luggage, suitcases and rucksacks. So do check out those links. Again, they're in the description and the comment section. And do make any purchases if you're interested. I do get a small little commission at no extra cost to you if you do use those links. So do consider it, because there are some interesting deals and products there that you may be interested in. Now, getting back into the video in terms of Argentina's safety tips, the next safety tip I have is in terms of your possessions. So mobile phones, jewelry, laptops, expensive equipment. You do not want to be flaunting and showing off expensive equipment anywhere you go in Argentina, especially in the big cities like Buenos Aires, Cordoba, Mendoza. there is a lot of poverty, there is a lot of homeless people, a lot of beggars, and there are criminals about looking to steal things like mobile phones, expensive bags, your jewelry. So my opinion is you shouldn't need to wear jewelry. Don't wear jewelry, don't wear expensive designer clothes and bags and rucksacks that look really expensive when you're out and about. Don't be getting out your latest iPhone all the time. Always keep an eye on the locals. So if the locals have their iPhones out and if the locals feel comfortable to take pictures and do stuff like that, then you can do the same. But if you don't see anyone out with their phone, and if you feel a bit uneasy getting your phone out, then don't. You shouldn't do. My recommendation would be, if you do have an old spare burner smartphone about, I would use that when you're out and about in the cities. So leave your expensive latest phone locked up indoors. I would use a burner phone walking around the cities if you do have that option. If you don't, just keep your latest iPhone very tight in your pocket. Be aware of it all the time and really don't get it out as much as you normally would back at home. This is not the country where you want to be flaunting about and showing off your wealth, because there is a lot of poverty, there is crime, there are criminals, and people are desperate. People are very willing and able to steal your stuff if they see it available to them. Now, my third safety tip about Argentina is in terms of public transport and getting around. Now, luckily in the big cities of Buenos Aires, Mendoza and Cordoba, Uber is available. You can use Uber. Uber is affordable, it's safe. So if you are in one of the bigger cities, for example, like Buenos Aires, and you want to go from one neighborhood to another neighborhood that's quite far away, I would not recommend walking, because you could be potentially walking through a dodgy neighborhood. It's probably best just to get an Uber, especially at night. Definitely get an Uber at night. That's going to keep you safe. And especially if you're going to somewhere like Boca in Buenos Aires, which is very popular to go to. You can see La Boca in the clip here. It's very popular. It's the very colourful neighbourhood that you've probably seen on Google in Buenos Aires. It's where all the tango dances are. You've got all the Maradona murals, all the Messi murals. But surrounding the colourful buildings in the Caminito area, it is very rough, very poor, quite dangerous. You do not want to be walking around there. So get an Uber to Caminito. That's kind of the centre of Boca where all the touristy stuff is. Get your Uber there and get your Uber out. You do not want to be walking around. Also in Buenos Aires, they do have the subway system, the Subte subway system. I use that many times. It is safe, but you do need to take precautions on that subway system. If you do have a rucksack, wear it on your front. You will see all the locals wearing their rucksacks on their front rather than like wearing a rucksack on their back. They will always wear the rucksack in front of them. So especially if you're taking the metro, do use your rucksack in front of you. Keep an eye on all your possessions there. You do get beggars on the Buenos Aires metro, and these beggars may even try to sell you stuff or even put stuff on your lap when you're sitting down to try and force you to buy. Just say no, ignore them, just say no, and they will take it off your lap. So that is something that you do need to be aware of. I did actually make a video on the Buenos Aires metro system and how to use that, so do go and check that video out. It was my latest video before this one. But you do need to watch out on all public transport throughout Argentina, because you do get beggars on trains, metro systems, buses. So do watch out for your belongings and do be vigilant. So I do think if you keep to these 3 general safety tips that I've outlined in today's video, I do think you should be fine. You just need to be street smart in Argentina, and anywhere you go in Latin America, you need to keep your wits about you. Unlike Europe, where you may be tempted to take a long hour-long walk from one neighborhood of a city to another, in Argentina, you can't really do that. I would not recommend that. Just get the Uber. It's just going to be easier. It's going to be safer. Or in smaller places where there are not Ubers, contact your accommodation. Get your accommodation to get you a safe taxi. That would be my recommendation. So I do hope that you have found this video useful and helpful, and I do hope that these tips will help you out in Argentina. It's a fantastic country to visit. It's such a big country. It's such a vast country. Fantastic cities, great nature. So definitely come and check it out, but do be vigilant of your safety. If you have enjoyed the video and if it has been helpful, click the like button, really just help out the channel, and also subscribe for more travel content and hit the notification bell too so you get alerted for when I release my next video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.